U.S. border agents launched tear gas at migrants to deter them from crossing the U.S.-Mexico border at Tijuana. Clouds of the noxious gas could be seen wafting up from around the fence at the border. One migrant picked up a canister and threw it back across the border into U.S. territory. The recent deaths of 2 migrant children in U.S. custody have intensified the debate over U.S. immigration policy as President Donald Trump holds on to his demand that lawmakers gave him $5 billion to fund a wall along the border with Mexico. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says he's ready to meet U.S. President Donald Trump anytime to achieve Korean denuclearization, but warns that he may take an alternative path if U.S. sanctions and pressure against the country continued. In his New Year address, Kim said denuclearization is his firm will. Kim suggested for the first time that North Korea would no longer produce nuclear weapons. Kim urged Washington to take unspecified corresponding action to speed up the stalled diplomatic process. The comments are likely to fuel growing skepticism over whether Pyongyang intends to give up the nuclear weapons program that it has long considered essential to its security. The US and Israel have officially quit the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, the UNESCO. The move comes as the culmination of a process triggered more than a year ago. The Trump administration filed its notice to withdraw in October 2017, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu followed suit, accusing the UN agency of anti-Israel bias. UNESCO has previously criticized Israel's occupation of East Jerusalem and granted full membership to Palestine in 2011. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vow to continue their work together in security and intelligence matters. The development comes despite the recent announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump that Washington will withdraw its troops from Syria. Pompeo reiterated the U.S. commitment to Israel and said Trump's decision in no way changes cooperation with Israel, and said the campaigns to counter ISIS and Iranian aggression will continue. The British police is treating the stabbing attack at Manchester's Victoria train station as a terrorist investigation and are searching an address in the city as part of the operation. At least 3 were injured in the stabbing. Police said they would step up their presence in the city, where a suicide bomb attack in May 2017 killed 22 people as they left a concert by pop star Ariana Grande. Britain is on its second highest threat level of severe, meaning an attack is considered highly likely. Security officials say they are facing record levels of work in countering Islamist militants as well as far-right extremists after 4 major attacks last year. A 50-year-old German man rammed his silver Mercedes into a crowd of people in Germany's Bottrum. At least 4 people have been injured. Police say the man made racist comments when he was stopped and arrested in the nearby city of Essen after fleeing the scene of the attack. Earlier, police said and prosecutors said they suspected the attack was deliberate and linked to the xenophobic views of the driver. They said there were also preliminary information that the man was mentally ill. Syrian and Afghan citizens are among those injured. Thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators took part in an annual New Year's Day protest in Hong Kong. Participants demand the resumption of a political reform process and expressed concern about Beijing's growing influence in the former British colony. The protest was also fueled by opposition to a proposed land reclamation project of Jan.2nd Island that has been criticized for high projected cost and its environmental impact. Sudan President Omar al-Bashir admitted that his country was facing challenges, falling short of referring directly to public unrest. Al-Bashir vowed to address the issues earlier. Sudanese security forces fired tear gas at hundreds of people trying to march to Bashir's Khartoum palace and in other major cities to protest against soaring prices and demand Bashir step down. Authorities have shut schools, declared states of emergency and in several regions and detained some senior opposition figures since protests first broke out in the city of Atbara on December 19. Amidst criticism that the surgical strike failed to check Pakistan's support for terrorism, Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserted that it would be a big mistake to think that Pakistan will mend its ways after just one war. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India will make all efforts to keep the pressure on Pakistan. PM Modi also said that neither the UPA or the NDA government opposed dialogue with Pakistan. He said that amid the noise of bombs and guns, a dialogue cannot be heard. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that ordinance on the Ram Temple will be considered only after legal process is over. PM Modi also slammed opposition Congress for creating hurdles for the case in the Supreme Court. Remember, BJP's ideological mentor, the RSS, in recent time has intensified its demand for the Ram Temple in Ayodhya. It even has drawn an elaborate four-phase plan to press for an ordinance for the construction of a Ram Temple at the disputed site in Ayodhya. The organization had in November threatened that it would take up an agitation similar to the one in 1992 if needed in order to ensure the construction of a Ram temple in Ayodhya. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat had also said that a delay in a Supreme Court decision on the issue was tantamount to denial of justice. Lakhs of women from across Kerala joined hands to form a 620-kilometer state-sponsored women's wall to uphold gender equality and Renaissance values. This comes in the backdrop of a frenzied protest in Sabrimala after the ruling party decided to implement the Supreme Court verdict. Allowing all women to pray at the Ayyappa shrine, the women formed the wall from Kasargod in northern Kerala to the southernmost district of Thiruvananthapuram. A baby boy has been found alive after 35 hours spent in freezing cold in the rubble of a Russian apartment block that partially collapsed in an explosion. The blast is thought to have been caused by a gas leak. It damaged 48 apartments in a 10-story building in the industrial city of Magnitogorsk, killing at least 7 people, with 36 people still missing. 11-month infant is currently diagnosed with a serious freezer burn and a closed head injury. It's being said that he was lying in his bed wrapped up in layers that saved his life. A baby was found when a rescuer heard him crying and a large-scale operation then began. A New Year's Eve bonfire whirled out of control, causing multiple fires to break out in the Dutch seaside resort. The wind whipped up fire tornadoes which twirled towards the beach promenade and nearby dunes. Embers from the bonfire were seen drifting through the night sky and rained down in the town near the Hague. The bonfire is made of wooden pallets and is held annually as a competition with the neighboring Dundrop. Eight people were rescued after being stuck on a fair ride for several hours on New Year's Eve in France. The incident took place in Rennes. Firefighters arrived at the scene, but their ladders were too short to reach the group. Later, a rescue helicopter finally helped them get to safety. The first person was rescued just before midnight, with the last one reaching the ground in the early hours of morning on January 1st. No injuries have been reported. A dazzling fireworks spectacle lit up Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach, where more than 2 million revelers welcomed New Year. Some 16 tons of fireworks colored the tourist city sky for over 10 minutes from midnight. The fireworks comes as Brazil reels from one of its worst ever recessions. Security remained high at the site with nearly 2,000 police on the beat in and around Copacabana. People in both the US and Panama enjoyed fireworks to celebrate the arrival of 2019. Hundreds of thousands of revelers gathered at Times Square, New York City to ring in the new year by singing, dancing and watching the crystal ball drop. A traditional Chinese dragon dance opened the festivities to the run-up of the New Year countdown for a second year in a row. The thunderous Chinese song playing in the background, a 15-meter colorful paper dragon seemingly danced with ease thanks to a team of skillful performers. Despite the rain, the lively performance still won applause from the crowd. Meanwhile, at midnight on the first day of the new year, fireworks lit up the sky in Panama City. Meanwhile, cities on the US West Coast rang in the new year in grand fashion with impressive firework displays. Revelers in Las Vegas, Seattle and San Francisco were among the last to ring in the new year, but were certainly not least. Cars stopped along the Golden Gate Bridge to view the impressive display, and visitors to the famous Las Vegas Strip took in the scene of fireworks lighting up the already brightly lit sky. The Seattle Space Needle featured fireworks that began at the bottom of the iconic landmark and rose to the top as 2019 began. Miniature steam trains, puppet tennis players and a convincing Darth Vader paraded through London to celebrate New Year. More than 10,000 took part in the parade from across the globe under the theme London Welcomes the World. The parade hosts a competition for London boroughs to come up with a float related to the year's theme. The winning entry gets a share of a cash prize of $51,000 for charity. The first edition of the parade took place in 1987, and the spectacle is now a staple of New Year's celebrations in the British capital. Tens of thousands of people gathered at Kim Il-sung Square to watch performance and welcome the new year in North Korea's Pyongyang. Artists and teachers from renowned art troupes like the National Folk Art Troupe and Kim Won-gyun University of Music performed on stage as part of the New Year's celebrations. Most of the attendees were young people and students. Some parents also accompanied their children to watch the performance and fireworks.